Hey guys, it's Kieran. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to sell your online fitness coaching program for upwards of 5K, right? This is aimed at people who want to be charging higher prices, who want a high ticket program so that they can make as much money as possible. And yeah, to be honest, if you are more interested in low ticket or selling a subscription model or an app, then you can click off this video. You don't need it. However, those people who just want one offer, their very best packaged up right into a high ticket offer to sell to clients, then this is the video for you. I'm going to show you the exact sales process that you can use and how to actually go about and think through the sales call so that you can close deals and have a close rate of upwards of 40 to 65% is what my clients are closing at. And that's on, 4-figure fitness packages. So let's get straight into it. There'll be 3 parts. Part 1 is the high success systems. So how to actually systemize the process of getting a lead, right? Getting them onto a call and then turning them into a client and all the software and processes involved. Part 2 is going to be the sales psychology. So the main things that you need to be thinking about when you're actually running through the sales call. And then part 3 is actually the part where you close the deal, right? Because it's not difficult to follow a script, but to actually get them over the line, right? That's the part that actually matters. So let's get into it. So here's just some screenshots of clients, closing, 1.5K split pay, 3K split pay then, 3K, 2K, 2K, 3K, 2K. Basically just packaged up, right? Value-based pricing. So looking at what the client actually needs, right? You need a fat loss journey. Okay, this is probably going to take, 5 or 6 months to actually do. Then you need to think about the aftercare and things. So if you were to value this transformation, what would it be? It's going to be, quite a decent sum of money. If you actually want people in the program who are serious about getting results, you want to really avoid charging, $100, $200, $300 a month, because it's going to attract bad quality clients, people who aren't actually willing to put in the work. And because they're on a monthly plan, they're always going to have a bit of like a sense of being able to escape, right? If things don't quite go their way, or they're not disciplined enough, or they're not putting in the work, they've always got this escape route. However, doing it this way, collecting more upfront cash, you're going to get clients who are ready to take action, who are confident in themselves, and who want to be more invested and emotionally invested, right? And then you create a kind of a mindset of, okay, I've paid all this money, so now I need to make the most of it and actually, get my money's worth here. So just to show you how possible this is, a lot of these people were actually new to online coaching as well, right? So you don't need to be crazy experienced to charge these prices, like what other sort of people might convince you of, but you can get started straight away selling high ticket. So the high success systems, right? So this is what tends to happen, right? Lead comes into your ecosystem, then all of these problems just happen along the way, right? So you've got a leaky pipe here, and basically you need to plug the holes with systems that are actually good. So what happens is lead comes in, right? Non-qualified people get through, broke people get through because you're not, qualifying them. Lazy time wasters, right? They don't show up to calls. Lack of trust because you don't have any sort of assets showing them how everything works, right? So that what happens is they get to the sales call and they end up, if we say this is the sales call, they get here, right? They don't trust you because they've not seen enough assets, videos, things like that. You get a lot of, I need to think about it, because basically the reason they're saying that is because you haven't given them enough information. I can't remember the last time I've had, I need to think about it. And in fact, I don't think I've ever had it, because if you just do everything in the right way, by the time you drop the price, it would just sound silly to say I need to think about it, because they've literally got everything, all the information that they could possibly need in front of them to make a decision there and then. It's usually just a money thing most of the time. It's never like I need to think about it or any sort of weird objection like that. But this whole, no belief in your process, this is what happens if you just get people straight onto a call straight from Instagram. Like if they've seen some of your reels, you talk to them, then you get them straight on a call. You're gonna have a bad time trying to close deals, especially if you're running a high ticket offer. If you're charging like a couple $100 a month, then yeah, that might not be so bad. But if you actually want, solid clients and actually get charged your worth, then you need to have a solid sales process, right? So that by the time you actually get people onto a call, you're not wasting your own time because you've not nurtured them in the right way. So all of these things need to be fixed, and I'm going to show you how we go about doing that. So this is how a good sales process should look, right? And this results in 80% show rate, and like I said before, up to 65% close rate. And that's on 3K packages as well. Obviously, you don't need to start at 3K, right? You can start a little bit lower, but you always want to be selling over 4 figures. If you're trying to sell something amazing for a really cheap price, the perceived value is going to be less, and also you're just going to increase skepticism as well, because they're going to be wondering what's the catch, as opposed to associating the price with the value of the program, which is a positive benefit of charging high ticket prices. So basically, there's kind of 4 steps here. One is the soft qualification, right? So this is basically you in the DMs talking to them on, very casually. So let's say they follow you, right? Then they start watching your content. You reach out to them, and then this is where this happens, right? So if you want to be proactive about actually casting a wide net over all of your audience who are coming into your ecosystem, then you have to be sending warm DMs, right? If you're not, then basically you're just relying on your content, and that's what I like to call post and pray, right? You're just posting content, and you're just praying that people land in your inbox. Now that would have been a viable thing to do, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. However, there's a lot more competition now. If someone follows you because you're a coach, there's so many coaches in the market, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. However, if you do intercept, right, when they're still hot, when they've just done it, and you get to know them a little bit and you find out what they need, you can then be the one to swoop in and be the one to fulfill that, right? So a soft qualification is basically, nothing too intense, right? You're just figuring out, what kind of journey are they on? What stuff are they working on, Then you can slowly transition into struggles. If you start asking them what they're struggling about straight away before they've opened up to you a little bit, that's going to come off a bit salesy. It's going to look like you're trying to, you're trying to sell your product pretty much and your service. So you want to ease into it, wait till they kind of open up to you a bit. You might not even need to ask. They might just tell you straight away. However, when they've told you all the positives, then you can transition into, okay, well, how comes you're not there already? How long's this been a goal of yours for? What sort of things are holding you back? That kind of thing. You can figure out what they do for work. If they've got a family, all that sort of thing will probably come out anyway. And then also it's good to just know what kind of experience they've had in the past, because this is another piece of leverage. Because for one, if they've tried something in the past and that's not worked, you kind of want to stay clear of that. If it's something specific, that is, I'm not talking about, hey, I tried a calorie deficit and it didn't work, then obviously, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, like, if they've tried a coach before and their coach had a specific method, way of doing things, or they've tried like the keto diet, then when you go to pitch them things like a call, or even at the end of the sales call, you're not then going to pitch them with the keto diet, right? That doesn't make sense. You always want to be coming from an angle of this being a new opportunity, right? And basically all you're trying to do during this process is figure out if they're qualified for your program, and can you even help them out in the first place? If you can, right, then that leads you on to actually finding a time and to get them onto a call. And this is where you do a bit more of a hard qualification, because you already know that they need what you have, and you already know that they're possibly a good fit, right? So now you need to kind of qualify them a bit more, just to make sure that they're not just going to waste your time. And how you're going to, position the call is you're going to basically find the gap, right? So where they are now to where they want to be, right? And, what's actually stopping them, right? So if you can just position the call, right, as the thing that solves that, right? If you position the call as something that's going to solve the roadblocks that are stopping them from reaching their goal, then obviously it's a complete no-brainer to hop on a call with you. So that's kind of how you need to do it. You need to make it seem like you always need to position it as something that they're getting something from it, right? It's not just a call for you to try and sell your service. They're actually hopping on a call to get some kind of value, right? And how you're going to do this is you're going to have Zoom Pro, you're going to have Calendly set up to book the calls, and then you're going to have your Google Calendar linked to both of these things. And these three things is how you're going to take your calls. God, I can't even speak. This way is much, much better than just picking up the phone. The problem with just picking up the phone, right, calling them right off the bat from their phone number, is that, a lot of people, they don't take it seriously. They might be cleaning, doing stuff, not really paying attention while they're on the phone. However, when you actually arrange a time on Zoom, right, you're face-to-face, they're actually arranging a time to actually dedicate, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to talking with you face-to-face, and it's actually more of a serious meeting, right? However, before you even get to that stage, what you can do with Calendly, right, is when they click the link, they'll then be taken to a series of questions, right? And then what you can do is, again, just emphasize that they're here for the right reasons. Make sure that they've actually got enough money to even come onto the call and to invest in themselves. And you're almost just qualifying their level of commitment and their ability to actually join a program. Because if they say, look, I don't even have the money, I don't have any money to invest in me right now, it's not a good time, then you're better off getting that using these questions than that being the case, then taking up time on the call, right? You want to make sure that everyone who actually lands on your calendar is in a position to actually go forward with the program. Or else you're just going to have your calendar filled with people who aren't really qualified. And, you're just going to be talking to a lot of people who you don't really need to, right? Where you could have used Calendly as to kind of automate that process, right? That qualification process. So when they actually book and you evaluate the answers to the questions and they're all good and you're happy with it, during this time, the time between booking and the call is when this comes into play, right? So that you've got the pre-call homework, which is like a VSL, and the automations as well. So another good thing to do is have a thank you page. So you can set this up on Go High Level, okay? I think it's $97 per month if you go straight through Go High Level. However, you do get people who white label it and can sometimes sell it for cheaper. So for example, for mine, I pay like $27 a month, and that allows me to have my thank you page. It allows me to do anything relating to websites, really, like landing pages if I wanted, anything like that. The thank you page is basically just going to have a small video explaining like call etiquette and stuff, right? telling them how to confirm the booking, because what happens is they'll get an email, usually it goes into spam and things like that, right? And then they forget about it. So this video, right, just shows them how to make it not spam, how to prepare for the call, sit in a nice quiet place, all this sort of stuff. Kind of just like call etiquette. So you're just getting rid of any bullshit that could happen, right? Right. Then step 2. So that's step 1. Step 2 is getting them to watch the VSL. And what a VSL is basically it's called a video sales letter. And all it is just a kind of like a landing page, how you've got all the copywriting and stuff. It's basically a video that sells someone on what you do. So, it goes through your own background. It's usually like a client case study or something. And the video is you just going through the case study. So the person watching it sees the effectiveness of your program, see how everything runs. You're eliminating limiting beliefs, pre-handling objections. You get the idea, right? So it's just kind of priming their brains for the call. And also, if the VSL is like 20 to 60 minutes long, that's a lot of nurturing time, right? So before the call, ideally you want someone to have watched you for as long as possible. So 20 to 60 minutes is quite a lot. If they just come straight from Reels, then the close rate is going to be much, much worse. So VSL is a very good idea. It just pre-sells them, right, and does a lot of the heavy lifting. And then number 3 is just social proof, right? So if you've got any video testimonials, client win screenshots, client interviews, that's going to be on this page as well, right? So this is all that's going to be on the page, and it's just going to prime them nicely for the call. And as well as that, you're also going to have the email and SMS reminders as well. Nothing complicated. That it literally just emails them whenever you want and texts them whenever you want in the lead up to the call. So I think I've got it emails them twice, and then it also texts them on the day as well. 20 minutes before, an hour before, whenever you want, right? You don't want to annoy them too much, but you do want, at least 2 of each, so that they are definitely aware of the call. Because the last thing you want is someone who is genuinely interested. However, they just completely forget about the call because there's no mechanism in place making sure that they turn up to the call. So it's as simple as that. It's just to make sure that they actually show up, right? But the VSL and the proof and things like that, this will increase the close rate as well. Okay. Definitely at least 40 plus, right? If they've watched a VSL, they've watched YouTube videos, they see you've got proof, and they see, physical, literal evidence that you can get them from where they are now to their end result, your close rate is going to be good. If they've got a lack of these things, then your close rate is going to be shit. And the last thing that I like to do is just a personalized and welcoming reminder. So this is not an automation. It's literally just me on the day, right? Picking up the phone, giving them a little voice note, just saying, hey man, just making sure you're good for our call today at 5. If you've got any questions, then just let me know. Just let me know here. And then just kind of hearing your voice, actually talking to them, can help a lot as well, because anything before this point, you've just been a person on a digital screen, right? However, if you send them like a personalized voice note or something like that, it kind of just humanizes you a bit, and it kind of makes them take your time a little bit more seriously. So all of these things will help you massively, and should actually get them onto the call, right? That's step 1, because if you can't get them onto a call, then none of the sales tricks matter at all. Next is kind of like the sales psychology. So all you're trying to do really on the call, right, if we just take it at first principle, is you're trying to fully understand where they are now and then where they want to be. Because all you're trying to do when you pitch your program to them is be the thing that can fill that gap for them. So if you're not quite sure and you've not really gotten to the bottom of why they want to do it, where exactly they're trying to get to, then you're going to struggle actually trying to pitch them something. So you need to understand this and this, right? And this is called the gap, okay? And all you're trying to do is to pitch your service as the thing that can get them to where they want to be. And it's really important that you're actually just a good listener. A lot of people have this stereotype of salesmen being like this cocky, like extroverted person, but actually the people who tend to do best on sales calls in the modern day, right? Because people don't really like that sleazy kind of salesman vibe anymore, is if you're just a good listener and you actually know how to leverage what you're telling you to pitch your service, that's where you're going to win, right? Because they'll be telling you all these things, right? And then if you can actually just use the exact words that they're telling you, you're the person who solves all these things or eliminates the things that they don't like, then they're going to be far more likely to associate you with becoming the kind of person that they want to be. So find the gap, sell them it, and just be a good listener, right? Don't just start rambling on about shit that they don't care about. Next, right, you need to dig out their why. And it's never a surface level response. A question I like to ask at the start is, something along the lines of, so John, just give me some background information. What actually inspired you to jump on the call today? And sometimes some people will just fully open up right off the bat, just go dive straight into it. And others, they will give you surface level shit, right? And, if this is the ocean, right, they'll be talking to you about this, but what you really need is to be talking about this. They'll be talking about surface level stuff. I just want to lose a few pounds and feel better. Okay, but why do you want to feel better? Like, what effect will feeling better have on your life? Like, some people, you really need to dig that down and just keep asking probing questions like, what do you mean by that? Can you explain that a bit more? When you say this, what do you mean by that? Those kind of questions, and just keep digging and digging and digging, keep asking, why, how would that affect you? Why don't you want to do that? Just keep going until you find the sort of core deep issue. And you'll know when you find it, because it's something that's a bit more deep. It's not just trivial, So you need to really, because what's going to happen, right? If you really get to the bottom of this section, and this is the gap is going to be much, much bigger, which leaves more opportunity for you to then jump in and to solve all that, right? However, if they're just not bothered, it's just a nice to have, then there's not really a big scope for you to actually sell them something in the range of a four-figure deal, So next is micro commitments. So what I mean by that is, well, people like to buy, right? They like to buy, but they don't like to be sold to. So by you asking for little micro commitments along the way, you're giving them the impression that they're in control and they're the ones making all the decisions to keep moving forward. So just an example, let's say I'm on my, sales presentation or whatever, and I've finished one slide. I'll always get a little micro commitment before moving on. So I'll just make sure that they've understood anything. Do you have any more questions? And then before I move on, I'll just ask them, would you like me to show you the roadmap that allows us to get client results? They'll say yes. And that's what I mean by micro commitments, right? you're basically just trying to collect as many yeses as possible, because every single yes is subconsciously priming them to buy, to say yes to your final question, right? So you're just trying to gather as little micro commitments as possible. You know, would you like to see this? Do you understand? Can you see how that would help? Yes, 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 yes. Just collecting them as you go. Do you think it's appropriate that we move on to the investment? Yes, of course, I'd love to. You know, you're basically putting them in a position where they're just keeping on telling you that they're interested. And that's basically what I mean by micro commitments. So the more of these that you collect along the way, the better position you'll be in by the time you get to the end of the call. Next is the power of silence. So this is what I mean again by like the sort of overpowering, obnoxious extroverts will end up just losing the deal, right? When you ask difficult questions, you have to be comfortable being silent, right? Don't get flustered. That having them sweat a little bit is actually a good thing, because people have to be experiencing emotional pain for them to want to buy the solution, right? If they're not in any pain whatsoever, and they don't care, then they're not going to buy it, are they? So when you ask difficult questions or you drop the price, just be confident, ask it, say it, and then be silent until they've fully answered the question. They might be silent for a few seconds. It might look like they're uncomfortable trying to fill the gap with like words and things like that. Just let them until they completely finish and then chip in. So by using silence, it just makes you look like more of an authority. It makes you look like you're in control and you're sort of more of a leader, right? Because you're not worrying, you're not stressed, you're calm. So that's really important that you actually use silence as a tool. Let them sweat a little bit and make sure that you don't interrupt them. That's probably the worst thing you can possibly do. Remember, this call is all about them and you finding out as much information as possible about them. And some of the questions are going to be difficult, right? They're going to have to think deeply. Some of it might be, emotional for them. And you just need to allow them to actually process these thoughts. Some of it might be uncomfortable, but ultimately that's the thing that's going to, that slight discomfort is going to be the thing that actually makes them buy. So you need to remember that. Focus on the transformation, not the program features. So if you just talk too much about stuff that they don't care about at the end of the day, they only care about this, right? And the problems that they have. So if you solve the problems, naturally that's going to allow them to get to the transformation, right? But just saying the features of the program, no one's getting excited about that. No emotions get triggered by a training plan or a check-in or a nutrition plan. However, if you're trying to find these deep-rooted reasons, like them imagining how amazing it'll feel when they're in the best shape of their life on their wedding day, or it's the first time they've ever had abs on holiday. These are the things that you need to have them associate with buying. If in their brain they just feel like they're buying this, you're fucked, because that's not worth a high ticket sum of money. All right. So if you focus too much on the program features, that's all they're going to be associating the money with. However, if you kind of just brush over these, right, as just a way to stack value, right, but focus on these are the life-changing things that they would pay a lot of money for. So it's really important that you don't get carried away with the program features and you try to focus as much as possible on the actual transformation or the problem that you're solving and how that's going to affect their life. And the last thing is, the less you care about the sale, the more attracted they'll be. So back when I first started doing sales calls, I remember feeling quite desperate and like anxious about wanting to make my first sale. And every call that went past that I didn't close, I would then start to feel a little bit more desperate. I would get in my own head about it. And I don't know what happened. I think I just closed my first deal, or I understood this. I had the awareness of the effect that was happening, and I just let go, and I just didn't care anymore. And from that point onwards, everything has just ran so much easier because I've got no emotional attachment to whether I get the sale or not. If the sale doesn't happen, then, I understand that, it's just not the right fit for the person. It's not meant to be, whatever. It doesn't affect me at all. However, when the sale does come in, obviously I'm happy about it. But before the sale, I don't let my emotions get the better of me. And that's kind of the way you need to be. Obviously, it does take a bit of mental tuning and a little bit of practice, but eventually you just don't, you don't care anymore, because the way you want to frame it is like they need you. You're up here and they need you, right? You're the authority. They need you. So if they don't choose to become a client, then that's fine. It's, it's their loss. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, you still need to value each sale. But so I'm not talking about like if someone has an objection and you just say, okay, fine. No, I mean, just don't let your emotions dictate your actions on the call. That's what I'm trying to say here. When it comes to actually trying, right, actually making an effort to close people, obviously you want to do that, because the way you need to think about it is, if you let someone get in their own head or get in their own way, you're kind of doing them a disservice, because then you're not able to help them. They're going to stay stuck ultimately. So these are kind of the main principles that I've thought of that kind of impact being good on sales calls. And it all kind of revolves around having a consistent call flow. So you can call it a script, but I think it's more of a call flow, because the more calls you do, the less you rely on the script, right? The script's more like a framework. So you know the general direction of how you want to take the conversation and when to ask certain things, but you don't want to be too robotic about it. It's just a flow, right? You're getting into a flow so that the conversation is going in the direction that you want it to, but you want it to be consistent enough that if things happen, then you can identify which part of the script maybe let you down. So this is why it's always important to record your calls as well. So a good one is this Fathom.video. So you can record your calls, right? You can record your calls, you can review them. Fathom has an AI note taker as well, so it is also good for marketing. If people are asking questions, then you can take these questions and make content about it, But also just from if your close rate isn't very good, you can rewatch videos and see which part of the video, which part of the call maybe let you down, where could you improve in future. And it's just good to have that awareness and to be always improving. So let's get to the closing the deal section, right? Because it's not hard to follow a script, let's be honest. That's not where the sort of skill is. But yeah, closing the deal. So your call flow, right? You'll have like a discovery phase. You'll talk about their goals. You'll talk a bit about the cost of inaction and what happens if they don't do this now. Like, what's their life going to look like? And then after this, you're basically asking them, hey, John, I can definitely get your results based on what you've told me. So would you like me to show you how I get results for clients? And then basically this is where this part comes, right? The sales presentation. And basically the structure is pretty simple. It's just, a little overview of your offer, right? Results of people who have achieved this, maybe a little bit of background information about yourself, a old way versus new way comparison. So basically this is just positioning. So you're trying to position your program as like the best on the market. So you want to look at what other people are doing and how you can do things better, and then just have like a visual presentation of like what other people are doing versus what you're doing. And what you're doing basically fixes all the issues of what everyone else is doing. Okay, it's just like a comparison. Then you'll have a roadmap, which will just create clarity and reassurance about what actually happens when people come on board. Because you're just trying to create as much, reassurance and clarity as possible. Because when people have all the information and the clarity that they need, but then saying yes and just going with it without wasting any more time is just the most logical, way forward, to be honest. So you've got the roadmap, which kind of explains what they're doing, like what happens. Then you've got the deliverables, which is where you stack value. So the deliverables is like, you get this weekly check-in, you get group call, you get access to the course, you get, the training plan, the nutrition plan. These are all deliverables, like things that they actually get, they actually receive. And this is where you can really stack as much value as possible before you drop the price. And when you've done all that, I like to do like a little temp check. And this allows you to surface any objections before you drop the price. So it goes along something like this, So John, that's all I have for you. I know that was a lot of information, so just so I can get an idea where your head's at with it all. If you were to rate everything we discussed on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, it was terrible and you'd do anything to get off this call, and 10 being you think it would absolutely help you reach your goal, where would you place it? And basically, if they say anything less than a 10, then that's an opportunity for you to say, well, what would make it a 10, And they're going to tell you any possible objections that they might have. And it's much, much easier to handle objections before you drop the price. Because they don't know the price yet, you've got a bit of leverage. However, when you've told them everything, now it's more just a case of, that kind of flight response starts to kick in. So if they're uncomfortable and they know everything by now, then they can find a way to get off the call, right? However, if you still haven't revealed the price yet and you try and handle the objections before, it means that they kind of have to face it there and then before knowing what the price is. So that's just like a little trick that I like to do, and it works really well. A lot of people actually just say 10 though. So if they say 10, then kind of like the only thing that they could possibly have an issue with would be the price of the program, right? So after you do that, right, then you say, okay, dude, it's 2K. Then you just keep silent, wait for their response, let them process it. Don't just say 2K and it's 2K because of this and because of that, and you get this. Like, it's like you're justifying it, right? You don't need to justify it. But what I tend to do as well is, instead of just having one price, because having one price creates this kind of thought process. Do I say yes or no? Right? What I like to do instead is have, especially for a fitness coaching offer, because people are going to be in different positions in terms of how long they need for a transformation. However, what I find is either 3 or 6 months works best, right? Any longer than 6 months, and it's too much of a commitment up front, right? You'd probably struggle to sell anyone on a program that was longer than 6 months. 3 months, in my opinion, is the shortest amount of time that people would need to actually get their money's worth and make a substantial transformation. So why not just have both, right? Have both options. Maybe one's 2K. And what I mean by weighted pricing is you anchor towards the one that you want to sell the most, which is obviously 6 months, because you're going to collect more cash and it's more time. It's, longer time for them to get client results. So that could be like 3K. So now they're thinking, well, I've got this goal that I want to achieve. Realistically, it's probably going to take longer than 3 months, or I'm going to, want a bit of time with the coach afterwards to make sure that I don't just lose it straight away and I actually maintain this for a long term. So if I have the money, do I want to go for this option, or do I just want to make sure that my transformation is set in stone? I've got the coach for longer than I need, and it's a good deal, so I'll just go with this one. And what I find with my clients is probably about 80% actually tend to go with the 6-month option if you use a weighted pricing strategy like this. And you can split this up into payment plans, but I don't even like to have payment plans visual until they need it. So on the last screen of the sales presentation, if I was you, I would just have a 3-month and a 6-month option with the full price listed, right? And optimize for cash up front. Because if you just instantly say, oh, it's it's $200 per month, like, if they actually have the money to pay up front, you're not even giving them that opportunity. So now they're less invested, they're less financially invested, they're less emotionally invested. And if things don't quite go their way, or they don't have the discipline, now they don't have this to rely on, right? This in itself is a motivation. Because if they've paid more money, then they've got more skin in the game. They're going to want to get their money's worth, so they tend to get better results. If you get them in for the lowest option possible, then naturally you're going to get clients that are not as good, right? They're not going to take as much action, and they're always going to know that they can just cancel the payment if things don't go their way, instead of sucking it up, actually having a bit of grit and actually getting through it. So, I always like to go here first. Not everyone can afford it, but a lot of people can afford it. So the people who can afford it, you'll then start to get a lot of paid in fulls, right? And the people that can't afford it, well, you just work your way down, right? So here's the price, the full price here. You need to figure out what can they afford, like which point can they get in at? Instead of saying, okay, what about $1,000 a month? What about $500 a month? That seems a bit desperate. If you have already established that they can't afford the full price, then what you need to do is make sure first that that's not a smokescreen objection, right? Maybe they have objection here, but they hide it with a money objection, okay? So you need to eliminate this first. So if they say they can't afford it, well, then you need to just make sure that everything else isn't a problem. So, hey, John, I totally understand, man. Just money aside, though, like, would you, if money wasn't a problem, would you be joining the program today? Like, do you think it can actually get to your goal? Do you think it's a good move for you, right? And if they say yes, confidently, then you pretty much almost guarantee that it's just a money problem. If they don't, then you can sort of try and get to the bottom of this. If it's just a money problem, then you can find out what their financial situation is, then offer them a custom plan. However, don't offer them a custom plan until you find out what this is, their financial situation. So I just usually say straight up, like, okay, well, I can tell you really want this, and based on what you've told me, I know I can get you results. It's just we need to find a way to get you in. Do you mind having an open conversation about where you're at financially? Just asking for permission, and they'll say yes. And then you say, if I was to pull some strings for you today, how much have you got, to invest in yourself today? How much have you got to put, how much would you be able to put down today? I'm not here to make anyone broke, but, we also do need to find, if I'm going to meet you halfway, right, and make compromises for you, then I need to know that you're going to meet me halfway as well. And then you just find out what they're able to put down. And then when you've confirmed that they can definitely put that down, then you figure out the custom payment plan. Now, this could be a little lower, right? It could be a little too low for you to take them seriously. If that's the case, then you just need to hope that maybe they're downplaying it, right? And you need to know what is the lowest. You need to know this amount, right? What's the lowest that you would take to get someone into the program? And then you would simply just offer them. You'd say, look, man, that's unfortunately, that's a little bit too low for me. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to bring on a client for that amount. However, if you're able to just bump it up a little bit and put down this today, I would love to have you on board and we can get started. If it's not too low, right, then you would just go straight to a custom payment plan that they can actually afford, right? And you would just say, before you actually get here, though, you would just say you would get you would tie them down a little bit, do another temp track, something along the lines of, cool, man, well, if I compromise for you today to get you into the program and we figure out a custom payment plan that's affordable for you, would you be joining the program today, right? So you're just getting a little bit of commitment there before you actually drop the price again. And they'll usually say yes if they're actually interested. And then after they say yes, then you can say, okay, well, what about this? Most of the time, right, you will then close the deal pretty much. And again, confidence. People, after you drop the price, a lot of people will be in this like fight or flight state. There'll be a lot of emotions will be running through their head, and you just have to be the confident leader who's able to, logically walk them through the options and why it actually makes sense for them to take that first step and to actually do what they know what they know is the right move. However, a lot of people will just get in their own head and get in their own way. And you just have to be the leader who can walk them through step by step until you've kind of plugged all the holes and it just makes complete sense for them to come on board. So yeah, that's kind of everything for today, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.